Hi, today I'm going to be going over the basics of Python. Most of this information will be from Replic's 100 Days of Code course, which I will be linking in the description. However, I won't be doing a video for every single day, as I think that's a little bit overkill, and not every day deserves, or not every lesson in the course deserves its own day. I will also list some projects that you can do if you want to practice these concepts, as well as give my solutions to them. If you haven't watched the introduction video, please note, I'm trying to learn just as much as you are. I don't know the best way to do this, it's just how I learned it. If I make a mistake, please just correct me and hopefully we can all learn something. Anyways, let's get started. The very basics. This is the stuff you learn at the very beginning of your Python adventure, such as printing, concatenating, inputting, and variables. First, I'm going to teach you about printing in the console. It's quite easy, and well, later on it might not be quite as useful. It's still very good for the beginning when you're making simple games inside your console. It's also useful later on when you're just debugging your code. So it's very easy. Don't mind my mistakes on the keyboard there, but it's very easy. Just have your print, then in parentheses, you have parentheses, and then replit, for example, auto does the parentheses, and then you have your value inside of it. You can put a string or an integer, and it will print it out for you in the console here. On VS Code, it'd be in the terminal. It's quite easy. As I said before, it'll help you when debugging your code later on in an easy way without using a debugger. And for simple games in the console, it will also help you out, because let's say you want to choose your class. You don't need a variable there, so you just have it say choose your class, and you have it done. Next, I'm going to teach you about variables, which is a fundamental skill of any coding language. So let's say we have variable and call it variable, and then you can just assign a value for it. It could be hello world, a string, it could be 5, it could be any of it. It could be anything. It could be 5.4, it doesn't matter. And then you could print variable. So now you could have your print statement change depending on a variable. But obviously you can't change the variable, so at this point you might as well just have 5.4. Well, that's what we're doing next. Now you can input into a variable. So let's say you want to print variable, but you don't actually have a value for the variable yet. You could do input, and oh, sorry, my mistake. You could variable equals input, and then you could have anything here. Well, so now you could run this. Oh, sorry, my mistake. Double parentheses. So now you can enter a number, and then this right here would print the variable. So now you can have it change depending on input that your user gives. And another very basic skill is concatenating, because let's say you want first name, and normally you don't want to write your variables like that. You want to variables like that. You want to do either camel case, like it's suggesting, or you can do it like this, because you want to be able to determine the different parts of the variable. And then it suggested that to me, so I just press tab and I have it. So enter your first name, and then now you can enter your last. And then you always want to add a space at the end, otherwise when you're putting it in here, this space won't be here and it'll look just a little bit odd. And then with these, you can concatenate them. You can either do it like this, which is, in my opinion, the worst way, and I think most would agree it is the worst way. You just close your quotes, add a plus, then you add your variable, then you add another plus, and then that's a space, and then you can next variable and an exclamation mark. But that's, in my opinion, the worst way. A better way to do it is you could do that, so print, then you press F, and then you do your quotes. So this is an F string, and then you could, as it's suggesting, your name is first name, last name, and it double parentheses. So now you don't have to have all those ugly pluses and quotes, and it fits together a lot better. So you could say Bob Jones. Your name is Bob Jones, because it concatenates these two together and has a space here because it's still inside the quotes. So that's how you could concatenate some things together, and you could put all of these together as I'm showing you here, because this is your variable. You set it equal to the input of this, so these are just variables here, and then you concatenate here, you print here. It's quite simple. The main issue you could face when working on this is obviously maybe doing double parentheses. Like, sometimes it's just Replit doing that, because when I print it and then it gives and I do this, it sometimes just does double parentheses. I don't know why, or maybe you did it on accident. Who knows? But you always have to make sure you have your open parentheses and close parentheses, and your open quotes and your close quotes. Another thing is it doesn't care whether you use just a quote like that, and then, or if you use a quote like this. It doesn't care. It can be a single quote or it can be a double quote. So you can use either. Now for your challenge. In this challenge, I recommend you try and make a sentence or a paragraph that changes based on input that you give, that the user gives. So, in an example without any code, you could have inputs. So you just input here, and then maybe a few lines of input. And using these inputs, you can create a paragraph like hello, and then name. It's just their name. How are you on this fine day of the week? And kind of like that. You take the input at first, and they can input it into the console. Then you can use concatenating and variables to make a paragraph based on what they've said. So you'd they'd input the day of the week, and it'd replace it in the paragraph, and then just try and make a few sentence long paragraph that uses different inputs like that. Good luck. Alright, so now I'll show you my solution. This day was pretty easy, so it should be a pretty easy solution. So first, I created the variable name, and I set it equal to the input of the question, what is your name? So now, if you ran this in the console, you can answer, what's your name? And it would just end there, because there's nothing that it does with that. Next, you can ask what weekday. So now it asks, what day of the week is it? And it would also appear in the console when you used it. Next, it could ask favorite food. And lastly, it could ask later, which is, what are you going to do later? And then, using concatenation and with all these variables, an F string is definitely recommended. So just put an F first and put your things. And then sure, I'll just press tab here, and it just gives me all this. You can write whatever you want here, though. Make sure you put these in, I don't actually remember what these are called, but the squigglies. And then, yeah, you have all these. And then, obviously not done here, so... And you could say... Yeah, you could also do that. So you get the point. You have all these. When I made it myself, I had the thing ask some questions, and obviously, it's asking you questions, and you'd want to answer too. So you could have response is equal to input and then just blank. So now let's say you answer all these, and then you get a respond here. So this was just me spamming on my keyboard, but now you get it. You could respond to some questions. This one didn't ask any questions, but this one, for example, ask some questions like, what are you gonna do later? So you could, let's say you answer this. It's Wednesday. Oh, I spelled that wrong. Let's say pizza, and I'm going to code later. Hello, Bob. It's been a fantastic Wednesday. I'm having pizza for dinner. What about you? I'm going to do code later. What are you gonna do later? Obviously, the grammar is a little bit off, but that's not really something we can solve very easily with what we currently have. Maybe share your solution in the comments if you want, or if you have any questions, I can try and answer them.